Hi guys, Mitch here from MJB Seminars, where you liberate, empower and inspire yourself to be the greatest example of your creation. You know, there's a couple of standard questions that people ask me when they meet me. One of them is, you know, how much personal development work should you do on yourself? And another one is, you know, how much work do you do on yourself, Mitch? Also, I'm regularly asked, you know, what was the most profound moment in my life? And I kind of want to answer those two questions for you now. The first one is, I want to speak about the most profound moment I ever had in my life. And the most profound moment I ever had in my life was when I sat down and somebody took me through a process to get really, really clear with my father, where, you know, up until that point in time in my life, I'd spent a lot of money on human development and I'd done a lot of individual courses and techniques. And I was kind of resentful of all that stuff because nothing had really worked. What it had done is it had kind of given me a little bit of a band-aid. It had kind of helped me a little bit, or helped me to cope with what was going on. But the work that I did with this woman, and when I got my father, it was literally the game changer. It was like the universe put its hand on my shoulders for a split second, and in that split second, you know, I was led into the room of absolute clarity and knowing. And from that point on, everything in my life changed. And so when I say everything in my life changed, it did literally start from that moment. I remember at that stage in my life when I sat down with this woman, you know, I hadn't spoke to my father in over 10.5 months. I had an amazing relationship with him, but the situation that I was in my life, you know, had really destructed things and the relationship between myself and my dad. I left this woman's house at 4:15 in the morning. I'm driving home. I've got my mobile phone in my passenger seat, and next of all, my mobile phone starts ringing. When I answer the phone, you know, I thought I'd left something behind in this woman's house. I thought it was my partner looking for me to see where I was at. But basically when I answered the phone, it was my father, and he said, "Mitch, son, I want you to know that I love you." And I think from that point on, I realized that if this process could affect and change the life of my father as well as the life of me, well then there has to be, you know, there has to be something big in this. And I think everything in my life changed from that point, and that was where I really started to realize how important it was to actually do work on yourself. Now, people say to me, yeah, but why would your father have woke up? You know, what was that all about? In fact, the first area of research that I started to look at was, you know, why had my father woke up? Why had my father felt compelled to pick up the phone and ring me at 4:15 in the morning? Why would he do that? And I started to research. The first book I started to look at was a book called Strategy of the Dolphin. And I started to study an area called precession and the precessional effects that we have on the world. And I'll just give you a brief overview of what precession is. If you have two flowers, a bee flying from one flower to the other flower, everybody thinks that the bee pollinates the other flower, but it doesn't. It pollinates the space in between those 2 points. And it's a bit like if you hold a bicycle wheel and you spin the bicycle wheel, everybody thinks the force is this way, but in actual fact, the force is in the complete opposite direction, in between the 2 axles of the bicycle wheel. So when we work on ourselves, we are actually precessionally affecting the world greater than the person that we think we're working on, or greater than the process of working ourselves. In actual fact, the force that we have on our exterior reality is way more profound than the force that we have on ourselves in that moment. So working on yourself is really, really important. And a lot of people experience when they come through our Relationships in You program, and actually all of our programs, that the effect that it has on the world, you know, the exterior environment, is just as profound as the effect that it has on themselves, if not even more. So on top of this, how often should you work on yourself? Well, you know, people should work on themselves continuously, you know, but it doesn't have to be this big, huge, you know, this hours a day or anything like that. I don't believe in the process. Some people do, but I don't believe in the process of people meditating for half an hour a day or an hour a day, because in the West, we don't really have that amount of time. But I do believe that spending moments or some time every day should be spent on your human development and, you know, thinking about where it is you want to be in the world, who are the people that you want to affect, and, you know, being grateful for, you know, the effect that you've already had based on the work that you've already done within your life. So I just wanted to share that with you that message about precession, and also about the amount of personal development work you should do in yourself. So I have a little bit of an exercise for you as usual. I want you to think in your life of an interaction that you've had. Really stop and contemplate an interaction that you've had with another human being. And then secondly, I want you to think about the precessional effect that had on everybody else within your environment. Because I really want you to get to understand the power of working on yourself and how it has such a precessional effect on your exterior environment. So remember, guys, when you work on yourself, the environment adapts in accordance with the work that you do in yourself. Now, what I want to do is I want to continue this conversation. So I want to take it into the comment section, and I want you to share with me the precessional effects that perhaps you've had on other people in your life, situations, circumstances, and really have a look at who it is you have affected when you stop and think about, you know, conversations that you've had and how the world has adapted based on that conversation. Now, if this information has helped you, if you know somebody that thinks that, you know, in some way that the work that they've done to themselves hasn't assisted them or hasn't stopped and accounted for, you know, the amount of people that have been affected as a result of their presence being in someone's life, please feel free to flick this forward on Facebook or tweet it to someone. And remember, guys, love is the only way. Love is all there is. Live your life inspired. Take care. Bye-bye.